Pendo. Pendo.
Oh, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And welcome back to, I guess this is officially Philosophy Cast. It's something like it. I am your host, DarthHideous, and we're back with the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius proper. First chapter. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope your weekend is going wonderfully. I've had an exhausting week. Ergo, I feel a touch exhausted. That's not helping. Good morning, Small Mousin. Good afternoon, CatNinja. Got the wrenches on patrol, front and center. CatNinja hanging out on Rumble. Good to have the team here. I suppose I should probably open this book up and figure out where we're at. You're sleepy, Mousin? Now I can relate. I woke up extra early because I passed out extra early last night. I just had enough of the week. And I'll be honest with you, I did not really want to show up. Was thinking about canceling the show, and then it was just like, oh well, maybe if you meditate on it a little bit, you'll find the motivation. Or if you just drink a bunch of coffee and wake up, you might want to talk about it. Anyway, let's get that book, shall we? So, how's everybody's weekend going? We got people watching, yo. We got a 4-4 split between YouTube and Rumble. The competition is ever fierce. And we got 2 hanging out on the Bird X Twix platform. And I'm not either one of them, so shout out to y'alls. Got the regularity on the Twitter viewership coming through. Bird. Son of a bitch, where'd I put that coffee? There we go. So, first book of the meditations. Because we learned on Wednesday that this book is primarily a work written by Marcus Aurelius to himself specifically. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the text of this that I might be able to relate to some things, but I'm not going to be able to comment on too much because a lot of these are just note to self, and in a lot of cases, relevance will probably be an issue. But we will do the best we can. This is probably, I don't know, there might be 2 or 3 texts older than this that I plan to do. This is going to be one of the most ancient works, even though it has been translated and modernized for current year or close enough. Oh no. Bong empty. Problematic. Bear with me while we fix this issue. Thankfully, we have plenty ready to go. We just ground like 10 minutes ago. Whew, that smells heavy. Okay, anyway, the book. Boop. There it is. Debts and Lessons is something in hubris that I believe Greg Hayes has assigned to this book because these books don't have titles. Not really. This was never written to be a published work. It's basically a journal that someone found, brought it to life. Oh shit! That is heavy. Wow! Wasn't expecting that. Got him. That'll melt your eyeballs. But anyway, let's get in this first section here and see if there's anything worth finding in the meditations. No one. My grandfather Verus. Character and self control. The patriarch figure who was supposed to be the one to raise this young lad after the death of his father, but from what I recall, not did not end up doing so because Antoninus did that job. But why does he make note that character and self control is the valuable thing? Because I pride myself of being a person of character, not always a person of self control. And for the sake of like interactions with people, like you kind of, if you're gonna have positive interactions, you probably got to be both. You probably have to have at least a modicum of a handle on both of these things. I mean, I think most people are in general more controlled of self than I am, but I'm a bit of an outlier when it comes to things. I just find it thought worthy at the minimum that this very short note here is all he recorded in this in this moment is character and self-control. Think about the people around you. Think about the person you're closest to. Think about two things, just like not just one, but two things that really stand out about the people you know, the people you choose to keep in your circle. I think that's a good idea. I got a good example right here. We got a cat ninja, and cat ninja's patience and steadfastness would be the note I'd put on the kitty. Kitty ninja. Patient and steadfast. Puts up a lot of bullshit from me. Tis appreciated. My father, from my own memories and his reputation, integrity, and manliness. Integrity is critical. Absolutely critical. I mean, that's part of your character. If you don't have integrity, then your reputation is going to suffer severely. As far as manliness goes, I mean, I feel like I'm living in the time where we're seeing the literal death of that. But because this is incredibly unnatural, it is unsustainable. So eventually, we're going to see a hard shift away from this effeminate males. And when the blowback comes, I suspect it will be violent. I suspect a lot of people will be very upset by what happens when that happens. But for the sake of integrity, manliness must be reclaimed, not just in its nature, but as a value. Hello, Mimsy. My mother, her reverence for the divine, her generosity, her inability not only to do wrong, her inability not only to, uh, okay, inability not only to do wrong, but even conceive of doing it. So this is very funky written. And the simple way she lived, not in the least like the rich. So that's a pretty stark contrast of image between his father, who he didn't really get to know all that well, and his mother, who basically was always around. Like he's got a much better picture of her and an appreciation for the qualities she exuded that were valuable. And it's interesting that she's noted as the one with the reverence for the divine and the generosity. There's a lot of really good quality characters that are playing an influence in informing the man who ends up contemplating all this shit. If I made a list about your mom, would it be this, I mean, reverent? I believe is a good word for this because it's very highly reverent. A simple woman with a generous nature and a love for the gods. My great grandfather, to avoid the public schools, to hire good private teachers, and to accept the resulting costs as money well spent. Oh my God! Do you see this, y'all? Literally, this is a, a bit of advice. Well, something like 160 to 180 AD. Like, to avoid the public schools, to hire good private tutors, and to accept the resulting costs as money well spent. You know how I tell y'all that, like, shit doesn't actually change? It's just like, it's a cycle, and everything is always the same. It's still this way. Do not put your kids in public school. The public education system is bullshit. It always has been. Even in the time right after Jesus, even in the time before Jesus. If it's a public education, that shit is no good. Get the private schools, the best private schools. We want accountability, we want competition. My first teacher. Interesting. Not to support this side or that in chariot racing, this fighter or that in the games. To put up with discomfort and not make demands. To do my own work, mind my own business, and have no time for slanderers. Dear God. You know how long it took me to figure out half of this shit? Like, it was not the first lessons I was taught, and I wish I would have had something so insightful when I was like, imagine starting from this as a point. We all had to come to this realization. Like, I don't know about all this part here in the middle about putting up with discomfort and not making demands. I feel like there's a time and a place. Abso-fucking-lutely so for that. But to not choose sides, to not have a fate, like, I mean, imagine just watching, in a lot of cases when I'm watching anything competitive, I've got very few times where I've actually got a dog in the competition, like a dog in the fight, you know? Most of the time, like, I just wanna see the best game be played possible by both sides. But that said, my 2 favorite teams are Michigan and whoever's playing Ohio State. These are facts. So, I fail at that first lesson. But do your own work, mind your own business, and have no time for slanderers. That's words to fucking live by all around. Ka is a wheel. Is that a Dark Tower quote? Did you just fucking Roland me, gunslinger? Oh my goodness. Cheers, y'all. Now let's break it down, shall we? Why is it important to do your own work? Because my theory on that is nobody's gonna fucking do it for you. And I think that's pretty self-evident, like, there is no such thing as a free lunch. I can't believe that in 2024, we still have to have the fucking socialist, communist debate where people think they can do no work and just get shit for free because they need shit. No, that's it's unfortunately not how any natural order works. You contribute your part or you die. That's nature, like as the world works. Minding my own business, you know. I need to work more on that. Sometimes I'll be minding other people's business. That should never work out. Just stay out of other people's shit. It's really that simple. How do you learn? I mean, well, first of all, you have to be not the stupid. Second of all, you have to react to things not the emotionally. That's how you learn. Or do the give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he will never go hungry. Promise a man another man's fish, and he'll vote for you. Not even kidding. But yeah, this part in the middle that don't necessarily agree with, putting up with the discomfort and not making demands. I mean, I'll caveat that with sometimes you do have to just put up with discomfort. You don't always have to do that. Adapt to the situation. Don't just suffer it in silence. Like, and as far as not making demands goes, like that's terrible negotiation tactic. You definitely got to want something, and you got to be willing to let people know, like, this is what I want and why. And if there's a good reason for it, you can find demands met quite often, depending on the nature of what you are asking for. But you'll never know what you can get until you try to get it. So, and sometimes all you got to do to get something is to ask for it. Dionytus. Not to waste time on nonsense, not to be taken in by conjurers and hoodoo artists with their talk about incantation and exorcism and all the rest of it. Good advice. Not to be obsessed with quail fighting or other crazes like that. I mean, to hear unwelcome truths. That's a stopping point. Hoodoo the voodoo that you do? I don't know, dude. This is important. Why do we have to hear unwelcome truths? Can anybody tell me? It's fairly simple. I know why we need to hear unwelcome truths. It's because they're truths. Spoiler warning. I mean, if I keep reading your chats, I might be wasting time on nonsense. You might be right. Well, if you only had 2 hours of sleep, why don't you just go back to bed then? Trying to do thinking exercises in a delirium is probably counterproductive. To practice philosophy and to study with Bacchius and then with Tendasis and Marcianus. To write dialogues as a student, to choose the Greek life, the camp bed, and the cloak. So the Greek life must be a traveling life if you're camp bedding and cloaked. You you're on the move. So don't get roped into simple bullshit. Live your life. Don't be taken in by cons and hoodoo artists either. People try to lead you astray from the path you're supposed to be on. In fact, I feel like pretty much everything is a distraction these days. No matter how important you might think it is, it's probably just another distraction symptom to keep you occupied and break your focus from what you're supposed to be doing, the path you're supposed to be on. And it's awful when everything's trying to lead you astray. Not everybody's going to practice philosophy like as a goal. In fact, it's probably super unprofitable in today's day and age to practice philosophy. But you can practice your philosophy specifically, whatever philosophy is the one that you have composed for yourself. You can go out and practice that. Not everybody's gonna study, but y'all got shit you doing. Writing dialogue. Hmm. No, no comment on that. Although I've started taking notes myself. In an effort to figure out exactly what my philosophy on everything is. And I definitely recommend that as a practice. When you think about stuff, write it down. Especially if it's something that really, like, you hit those revelation moments, make a note of it, and then revisit it frequently. Rusticus. The recognition that I need to train and discipline my character. Oh my goodness. I mean, this sounds like be constantly better than who you was yesterday. Which, if you look at the totality of circumstances, is all you can do is be better than you were before, or at least aspire to do so. Not to be sidetracked by my interest in rhetoric. I often fall into this trap. especially rhetoric as it relates to partisan issues. Not to write treatises on abstract questions or deliver moralizing little sermons. Or compose imagery descriptions of the simple life or the man who lives only for others. Again, there's the repeating, like, there are repeating themes all through this. And the distractions, I mean, pretty much everything. Hey, look, we got Bijou. We got Tuju. Hey, Bijou. Good afternoon to you. Glad you could make it. We're just talking about things. Why to not write treatises on abstract questions? Because it's pointless. Abstract questions, grand hypotheticals, shit that has no relevance or basis in reality need not really be expounded upon. It's fun sometimes, but it's not productive because, well, that's never gonna happen, right? Right. Deliver moralizing little sermons. Yeah, beware the cult of positivity and the hyping people up too damn much. Let's let's compose little sermons that are grounded in the truth and not just moralizing for the sake of like being uplifting and positive. I love this one here about the composing the imagery descriptions. To steer clear of oratory, poetry, and belles lettres. Uh, Pretty little notes, I believe, is the translation on that. Something to that effect. I don't speak surrender monkey. Not even a little bit. And that's what that looks like to me. So this is another note not to be distracted by a bunch of bullshit that's gonna take you off the path that you're supposed to be on. Like, reasonable. Not to dress up just to stroll around the house or things like that. Yeah, because that's dumb. Who does that? I know who does that. If you know, you know. To write straightforward letters, like the one he sent my mother from Sinuessa. So, again, with a drop the flair for dramatics and things and just speak plainly. People can use all the fancy words they want, like Gracienne did, but speaking plainly is probably the most direct. It's the most direct and controversial way to get your point across. Because sometimes you do what is known as sugarcoating shit, which is to talk around the fucking issue, beat around the bush, if you will. Sometimes you just gotta tell people the truth of shit plainly, straightforward. And to behave in a conciliatory way when people who have angered or annoyed us want to make up. Hmm. What about that? Anybody out there that I've angered or annoyed? I mean, I can see three of you right now. What do you think about this little bit of advice about behaving in a conciliatory way when people want to make up who have angered or annoyed us? I feel like it's probably a huge plus to the plus column. Hey, Puff. Good to see you too. Thanks for stopping by. Ah, I know it's a little bit difficult for me, especially dependent on the nature of what people have done to anger or annoy me. However, I find quite a bit that sometimes when I'm angered and annoyed, that's usually me too. Maybe annoyed. Small mousin'. I have a bunch of conciliatory friends. Oh, can anybody hear that? I hope y'all can't hear that. That is a little bit ridiculous. I might have to go figure out what that's all about if it doesn't stop. Okay, if you can't hear it, that's fine. Oh, this is an interesting little bit of advice right here. To read attentively, not to be satisfied with just getting the gist of it, and not to fall for every smooth talker. Well, there's a couple of different concepts here. Let's break it in half. I've been angered and annoyed, but here I am. You've been very conciliatory, Bijou. In those moments of turmoil, I will not lie. That's why I asked, like, how do you feel about this? Because I know you've had to do that. Yes, these things happen. A lot of times I'd be overreacting to shit, though. I have a temper. I am aware. It's kind of a suck sometimes, but it does be like that. Fuck's sake. That is friendship. You are right. This next bit here about reading attentively and not being satisfied with just getting the gist of it. Really, like, absorb and digest what you are reading, which is why I kind of do this little commentary. Because if you're really going to understand and absorb what you're reading, one of the best exercises for that is to actually discuss it with other people. Do a full analysis, and sometimes there's shit left on the table in the analysis because we could analyze different points uh, in a microcosm, like even even when you yell, you have up. Yeah, 'cause you're just a bunch of squeaks from over there in the bushes. I'll be right back, y'all. I have to go deal with this. No, no, it's not. It's not the orange cat doing orange cat things. It was the ridiculous dogs doing a chorus, just barking back and forth at each other because they're idiots. That's obnoxious, let me tell you. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yeah, we were reading attentively, which means not having a chorus of barking dogs trying to distract you and not falling for every smooth talker. And sometimes I can be just that. I can be a good salesman. I can be a smooth talker. I prefer not to do that. I prefer to just shoot straight. And if that's smooth, it's smooth. If not, keep it moving. And for introducing me to Apicius's lectures and loaning me his own copy. That's really not anything I've got to comment on at all. But good for him. Who did that? Risticus. Good man, good man. Apollonius. Independence. That's important. And unvarying reliability. That's the concept right there. Because how the hell can anyone be unvariably reliable all the time? That's insane. And to pay attention to nothing, no matter how fleetingly, except the logos. Oh my goodness. That's a steadfastness and discipline that we don't have anymore. I don't have that kind of discipline. I know some people who have something like much closer to that than I do, but even they are far, far short of like a single minded focus. And to be the same in all circumstances, that's that unvarying reliability again. Intense pain, the loss of a child, chronic illness, and to see clearly from his example that a man can show both strength and flexibility. That's a huge, huge, huge ask. Discipline is everything. Well, discipline is not everything. Discipline is imperative. It's necessary. It's not everything. Reliability and consistency, all part of the discipline package. Independence as well. Like, I guess actually a lot of these things are spawned directly from discipline. How on earth do we maintain consistency, like, through all moments? Like, I'm definitely, when I'm hurting, not the same person that I am when I'm not. That's just an unreasonable ask, which is why I, in general, think a lot of stoicism is self-delusional. Like, it's you really gotta commit to basically existing in a world that doesn't exist. It's entirely problematic. His patience in teaching, and to have seen someone who clearly viewed his expertise and ability as a teacher as the humblest of virtues. Man, I wish I had ability to teach. I can direct, but I cannot teach. That's an interesting concept. I feel like you don't need any sort of Stoic philosophy outside of detrimental traumatic situations. I mean, Stoicism in moments of abounding joy is particularly useless. I mean, it's almost a redundancy at that point, like an irrelevancy rather. Ugh, how can I teach? I barely know anything. Like that's I'm exploring this alongside you. I'm not teaching a damn thing. I'm learning next to you. To the extent that, like, I mean, I have a better understanding of things than some, less so than others. No, the virtue because I really don't have a teaching ability at all. This is made up. Just like these planets are made up because the Earth is flat and the solar system is just a projection on a big screen. And to have learned how to accept favors from friends without losing your self respect or appearing ungrateful. Uh, the good old stubborn fool that is independence minded. Like, there's a word I'm looking for, and it's escaping me right now, and that bugs the living shit right out of me. But, I mean, a lot of people. Oh, yeah, pride. That's the one. Pride. Yeah, the good old foolish pride. Sometimes you have to swallow that shit. Yeah, pride. If there was one thing that I'm probably the most guilty of out of the seven deadly sins, that's the top of the list, and coincidentally, the one which the other six stem from in large amounts. Well, at least five of the other six. Not so certain about lust, but definitely, definitely an issue with the other ones. How do we swallow our stubborn, foolish pride and accept favors and help from friends without losing our self esteem or doing so begrudgingly and appearing very ungrateful for needing the help that we're getting. That's tough. I have a hard time accepting things from anyone. I feel obliged when I do, and it's a problem. And it's hard to swallow that pride, like, ask for anyone's help, 'cause I got this. Well, that's appreciated, isn't it? Number 9, Sextus. Oh, my inner 15-year-old is laughing hysterically. Kindness. An example of fatherly authority in the home, as if we even know what that means anymore, as a species. What it means to live as nature requires. I guess that would be to live, right? Gravity without airs. That's I don't know what that means. I don't know what they are trying to convey with this statement. It's a bold shit. To show intuitive sympathy for friends. Ah. Tolerance to amateurs and sloppy thinkers. Now that one I struggle with. I don't deal with stupid well. I'm not very sympathetic towards or tolerant of people who don't put effort in. Fucking rank ass amateurs and sloppy thinkers in the era of ideas definitely need to be mocked and scorned mercilessly, in my opinion. So go ahead and try tolerance, I guess. That we see where that's gotten us now. Time to start biting back, I think. His ability to get along with everyone. See, I don't have that ability. Sharing his company was the highest of compliments and the opportunity and honor for those around him. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to hang out with all of you. I mean, I'll hang out with all of you. But this is a very small subsection of the greater population and a very elite group, as the laws of averages go. But I can't be in a large gathering of stupid people because I do not underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. It's a whole problem. And to the extent that I recognize it as a problem, I see no remedy for it. To investigate and analyze with understanding and logic the principles we ought to live by. Huh. How many people actually do this? Actually think about why they believe what they believe? The answer is very few people. And you can do this experiment at home ask people what they believe, and then get them to explain to you why that's the case. And see if you don't get emotional non answers every single time. And I'll give you all a cheat code and a secret tip. 90% of what people believe and the values and virtues they aspire can be traced back to this one little phrase. Because I perceive that it benefits me. That's the truth of it. You'll probably never hear that, but most people believe what they believe because they perceive that it benefits them, even if it doesn't. Sometimes being a part of a group is the benefit that they get from believing what they believe is then they're accepted by a herd, if you will. It's a complete lack of independence, but it is what it is. Not to display anger or other emotions, to be free of passion and yet full of love. That seems a little impossible. Swallowing your emotions, even if you are someone who's highly analytical, like a bit of an issue, right? And how are you free of passion yet full of love? Like, manifest love in another manner. Compassion. Hard to go ahead and divorce yourself from your emotions, though, because your emotions actually predate your logic, your analysis. Do we have the ability to control them? Absolutely. Do we always have the ability to control them? I don't know. I'm sure there are some people out there who have mastered it, but it takes a lot of practice to like get your emotional response under control. Is it though? Is passion crucial to a happy life? Let me go ahead and give you a fine example. Buddhist monks, like Tibetan Buddhists specifically, or the Shaolin monks, like they live a life devoted to nothing but the pursuit of peace and enlightenment. They have gone to great lengths to divorce themselves for all passion for everything. I mean, you believe it is because it's beneficial to you or it serves your purpose or you derive value from it. But objectively speaking, the desire for I don't believe they have a passion for much of anything. Like they're extremely dispassionate. That's the whole point. Passion is a powerful emotion. It's indicative of a great like energy output, and you're not gonna get that. You're thinking of passion in a different context. Powerful emotion. They definitely do have a discipline, but you can be dispassionate and still have a happy life. You can be content and be completely dispassionate about everything. I think it's something else. I mean, you might call it passion, you might confuse it for that, but I believe it's something else. In this regard, I mean, this is like the raw emotion of passion, like anger and I mean the other side of love, you know? That that super intensity. You could probably still have a passion for things without being super hyper passionate about them. To praise without bombast, to display expertise without pretension. Huh. Well, that's a wreck. That is a wreck of a thought. To praise without bombast. You can't feel anger or don't have it if you don't have the opposite feeling. That's the nature of good and evil. Yeah, yeah, basically. Divorce yourself from your emotions. This is a constant reoccurring theme, and basically it underlies stoicism and it underlies I mean it's a pragmatic way to live. Yeah, you could call it sad and terrible because you wouldn't value it, but you could still have a very fulfilling life divorced of your emotions. Anyway, praise without bombast. Bombast being like exaggeration, bombast being like overhyping. Like, it's really easy. Well, you're also a woman. Uh, and you also would probably never claim to be a stoic either. Like, I'm sure they feel things, they just don't talk about it and don't display it. Absolutely. We can be steadfast in our convictions and still be open to other perspectives. Mostly because we can understand that just because we believe and know a thing to be true doesn't mean that that thing is going to be the truth for everyone. I bet they display it when they are alone. I, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? We have been warned multiple times already to avoid being sidetracked by such nonsenses. You might have missed that part. That was a little earlier in the show. Mm. Display expertise without pretension. That's tough for a lot of people to just. If you're good, you don't need to brag. You don't need to make a show of it. If you can do it, you just do. And a lot of the real masters, like This one, I've been watching a bunch of like documentaries and listening to a bunch of old West Coast California prison stories. I don't even know how this rabbit hole ended up being in my YouTube feed, but it did. And it got me thinking about the people I know that are truly like actual tough guys. You're never gonna hear them puffing out their chest or telling everybody how tough they are. They know. They know. And when you come across a person like this, you can kind of just tell, you can read the room, that this is not somebody to fuck with. That's display of expertise without pretension. To the literary 10. The literary critic Alexander. I don't know which Alexander he's referring to. Not to be constantly correcting people, and in particular, not to jump on them when they make an error of usage or a grammatical mistake or mispronounce something, but just answer their question or add another example or debate the issue itself, not their phrasing, or make some other contribution to the discussion and insert the right expression unobtrusively. I love this bit right here. I feel like in the current iteration that we have, like, people do a lot of this. I've been guilty of it myself. Like, I hate it when people say things and it's like, that's not the right thing. So I correct and I jump on errors of usage. Uh, when it comes to mispronunciation, I'm terrible with that as well. I'm kind of a grammar Nazi. This says right here, don't be that. It's not productive. But I love this part here because I have actually managed to do this. Made other contributions to the discussion and inserted the correct expression unobtrusively by making it a part of my point. That way I didn't have to directly correct something someone said. I just said it the right way. Sometimes I struggle to say things the correct way, and a lot of what I say comes off as garbled nonsense. I tend to speak faster than I think sometimes. It's a problem. But if you're going to be in a debate or a discussion or an argument about something, just observe this part. I should make a big note of this and write it down. Do not be the grammar Nazi. Just make quality contributions to the discussion or the debate. Don't need to be correcting people when they're wrong. Just correct them with a counter argument. "11. Fronto. To recognize the malice, cunning, and hypocrisy that power produces. Lord, does it ever. The examples of this are endless. We can point at almost everyone, if not everyone, in power right now and recognize a significant amount of malice and hypocrisy. And it's not without cunning, even in its appearance of being just on the surface so much bullshit that it's stupid. It's literally just a challenge at this point. What are you going to do about it? And the peculiar ruthlessness often shown by people from good families. They mean powerful families, like it, the ones that tend to rise in the nobility. There's a definitely peculiar and particular ruthlessness behind it. And if you're a student of history and you look at all the great, wealthy, good families, like, there's usually a lot of blood in those pages. Now, I don't know about roofiness. Like, I don't got any loots, man. Alexander the Platonist. Not to be constantly telling people that I'm too busy unless I really am. Similarly, not to be always ducking my responsibilities to the people around me because of pressing business. I don't know. I'd tell you all about this, but I am too busy and I've got way too much shit going on right now. Make the time for people, especially people you care about. It is a requirement of maintaining healthy relationships to let it be known that you will make time for somebody. And if you constantly tell people you're too busy, eventually they're going to find somewhere else to allocate their time. Catalysts. Not to shrug off a friend's resentment, even unjustified resentment, but try to put things right. I've been accused of being called a peacemaker. I've been accused of being a peacemaker, been called this, accusatorily so. A fixer also, in my general nature to not have even relationships that have gone sour, even friendships that have, like, I hate having animosity just as a general rule. I can be mad at you in the moment, but to harbor anger, resentment, malice in my heart, just it's a poison that I don't particularly enjoy consuming. So I try to end shit on good terms, even if it's gotta come to an end. Like, most things just grow apart naturally, but if you gotta end something, like, 'tis best to try to do it as kindly as possible. Because, yeah, malice, vitriol, and hatred will, it's a poison, it will kill you. It will destroy the good in you. And a couple of times in my life, I've truly had to leave off relationships where it's, like, contemptuous at best, and I hate that. If you were my friend at any point in time, you were my friend for a reason, and I tend to like to try to remember that, even if I can't be friends with you, that we were friends for a reason at one point. To show your teachers ungrudging respect, the Demetrius and Athenodotus story, and your children unfeigned love. Well, you hear that, y'all? You gotta show me not just respect, but ungrudging respect. Put some respect on my name. DarthHideous, the philosophy caster. Darth is nearly half as mad as he would have, and less than half as mad as we deserve. I mean, that's why I'm only an interpreter and student of philosophy and not myself a philosopher, because it takes a certain level of madness that I have not attained to actually innovate philosophy. Like, if I were to look at my entire philosophy, it's just borrowed pieces from other philosophy that fits into my worldview. That's literally how it works. And your children unfeigned love. Imagine having to feign love for your children. Like, who does that? Like, unfortunately, there are people out there who, like, they can't love. They're sociopaths or whatever, like, psychopaths. They can't feel the human emotion of love. And imagine having kids like that and not being able to truly love them. That would be awful. Marcus's brother Severus. To love my family, truth, and justice. Well, I'm going to say to love God, who is the truth, my family, and justice. We need to get back to loving more justice, though. 100%. And we also need to get back to loving more God. No, I'm not going to tell that story. Never mind. Disappointments all abound. It was through him that I encountered Thresia, Helvidius, Cato, Dion, and Brutus, and conceived of a society of equal laws governed by equality of status and of speech, and of rulers who respect the liberty of their subjects above all else. See this right here? This is the full blown first libertarian guy. Not the first libertarian guy, but I mean, they embrace freedom and not equality of outcomes, but literal equal laws and equal status. However, in practice, that never works out that way because money equals speech and speech equals power. And from him as well to be steady and consistent in valuing philosophy. Oh, cheers. and to help others and be eager to share, not to be a pessimist. I doubt it. And never to doubt your friend's affection for you. I doubt that too. And that when people incurred his disapproval, they always knew it. That's can confirm. And that his friends never had to speculate about his attitude to anything. It was always clear. My friends, have I ever misled you that you are aware of? I feel like I'm right on board with a lot of this. Just keep it real because bullshitting is way too hard to maintain. It's a lot of work. Tried it before, it's not fun. Just keep it real with your people though. Generosity, positivity, trusting my friends, affection for me though. Like I only doubt it because I can't understand why it's possibly a thing. Like how do y'all even like me though? I am kind of an asshole like a lot. It's like, yeah, but you're our asshole. It's like that's not actually an explanation as to how that's a thing. But I hear it a lot from my friends. But yeah, when you incur my disapproval, I'm gonna let you know. Squab, I approve of you. Cat Ninja, you as well. Bijou, I'll get back to you. I'm just kidding, Bijou. You do not have my disapproval. You're in the clear. Maximus! Number 15. Self control and resistance to distractions. This is probably the most common reoccurring theme. The quality of mercy is not strained. Droppeth as gentle rain from the heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. That's beautiful, Squab. Well, sometimes I don't like you. I always love you, though. Feelings mutual, kid. Feelings mutual. Not kidding about what? The reoccurring themes? I feel like I might be a touch behind. Oh, the part before that for sure. Self control and resistance to distractions. That's the fourth time this has come up in the first book here. Stay on the path is gonna just be the theme over and over again. Optimism in adversity, especially illness. Like, don't be a bad sick. A personality in balance, dignity, and grace together. I don't have either of these things, I don't think. Don't take my advice on dignity or grace. Find a better example. I I'm a bad sick, Mims. Like true facts. When I am ill, I become the negative Nancy, big time. I hate being sick. I don't get sick very often, but when I do, I am the suck. But being pessimistic, negative, doesn't actually solve anything. Like, being super optimistic doesn't fix anything either, doesn't help. Being realistic is probably where I tend to, like, hold myself. Like, yeah, things suck, but they could be worse, usually. Or, this is alright, but it could be better, usually. There's never perfect in good or awful things. Things could always be better and or worse. But in general, things are alright and they're as they should be. But do not, under any circumstances, ask me anything about conducting yourself with dignity and grace. I think I have that translation myself. Doing your job without whining. Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie to you. If Rebecca was here, Rebecca could say that I don't do this. Sometimes, I mean, I think I might have done some whining about not wanting to do this stream, and I was thinking about canceling it, and then it's like, what what would Marcus Aurelius do? And the correct answer is he would shut up and do his job. Other people's certainty that what he said was what he thought and what he did was done without malice. Other people's certainty about Maximus. Maximus! Never taken aback or apprehensive, neither rash nor hesitant, or bewildered or at a loss, not obsequious, but not aggressive or paranoid either. My goodness, that's a balance. To never be off your stride is truly a mark of expertise and greatness. Nope, I'm an amateur and I'm about as inconsistent and sloppy as is acceptable to actually be engaging in such activities. It's anything that prompts Puffer P to appear can't be all bad. You're not wrong about that, sir. It was absolutely lovely to see the young Miss Puffer stopping by. She is always a welcome face, as are all who enter here. I love all my people. Oh, wow. We got 6 people watching on the Twitter sphere, just hanging out. 8 YouTubers and 14 on the Rumble side. So, shout out to that gang, the gang of gangs, the expert people, and yes, even all the lovely folks on YouTube who carry the majority of my chat. So, Rumble needs to work on its engagement levels, but I understand that the chat feature on multiple different platforms of Rumble Mobile and the like are not good. But I do love my chat. Like, Generosity, charity, honesty. I need to work on my generosity and charity for sure. I'm definitely not the best example of a giving soul. Honestly, uh, sometimes I may be too honest. That's a problem. The sense he gave of staying on the path rather than being kept on it. What's the difference between staying on the path versus being kept on the path? One of these things is not like the other. In the way I see it, chat, anybody watching in the replay is staying on the path is the thing you do. Being kept on the path is the thing that's done to you. And I don't think one can be kept on the path. I think everything about you is, or like everything around you is trying to pull you off the path. Squad, would you, well, yeah, well, it's more than voluntary. It's actively pursuing. It's the engagement yourself, being present, if you will. Because, like I said, you can't like I could try to keep you guys on the path. Y'all could try to keep me on the path. That can't be done. Everything out there is trying to pull you off the path. Everything is a distraction, as I said earlier. So I don't know what example could be given of someone being kept on the path. Like, if y'all think I'm keeping you on the path, like y'all have not figured it out. I'm struggling to stay on the path myself. I definitely can't keep you on it. But I am trying to stay on it. And I can't say that my path is even the most righteous of paths. I'm working on that. I'm praying on that. But it is the struggle to stay on it. You have to be actively choosing that at all times. Wait a minute. Where'd this lag come from? Did y'all get that lag? That was gross. That no one could have ever felt patronized by him or in a position to patronize him. Hmm. Well, I don't engage in patronizing behavior too much. And insincere flattery is kind of a waste of all efforts unless I'm mocking you specifically. And if I'm if I'm engaging in insincere flattery, you can guarantee I'm just mocking you at that point. A sense of humor. Well, definitely a good thing to have. If you can't laugh, you're probably already dead. Number 16, my adopted father. So this was Antoninus then. Compassion, unwavering adherence to decisions. Now that right there I find is an uncommon trait of actually like making a decision and then not being swayed based on the situations. Hypocrisy and inconsistency is a far too common thing. Once he'd reached them, indifference to superficial honors, that's that insincere flattery right there, superficial honors. Hard work and persistence, these things right here, these will get you everywhere. Just keep grinding until you get there. Listening to anyone who could contribute to the public good. I find that people that contribute to the public harm also have something to contribute to the public good. So that would literally be anybody who speaks contributes to the public good, whether their ideas be absurd or extremely rational. His dogged determination to treat people as they deserve. Hmm. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Number 6, 24 to 26. Thank you, Mr. Squab. Are you guys aware of the Bible study that happens on Rumble every Sunday at 8:30 Eastern Time? It airs on my channel and a gentleman we call Cool Frog. Me and Squab, Digger, the Frogman. Y'all should check it out. If you're not subscribed, not following me on Rumble, like, what are you even doing? This right here doesn't often happen. People treat me way better than I deserve because I'm blessed. I think I treat people in general worse than they deserve, and that's an awful thing. Or maybe I'm just too critical of myself. Tough to find a balance. Takes dogged determination to treat people as they deserve. A sense of when to push and when to back off. Now, this is something that I've never been able to master, but I'm gotten a lot better at it just recently. Just knowing when to just like get that last word and when to just, you know what, this isn't even worth it anymore. I'm out. And it's I used to tend to err way more to the push, and now I'm starting to learn just backing off is probably better way more often than I used to initially think based on the presupposition that uh, just because I believed a thing to be true, I was right about it, like, or just because I was right about a thing that it actually mattered to anyone else. That's the problem is you can know a thing to be true and correct, and you can tell everybody about it and find that nobody gives a shit. And that's kind of a pain in the ass. Putting a stop to the pursuit of boys. I'm not even gonna I'm not even gonna go there. This is I I I am hoping this actually is supposed to say pursuits of boys, but do not pursue boys. No, just leave those boys alone. We do not promote any pursuit of boys or girls for that matter. Let them be them. Do not engage in anything that would nope, just nope. Kudos to his adopted father for putting a stop to that shit. His altruism, not expecting his friends to keep him entertained at dinner or to travel with him unless they wanted to. See this right here? I tend to be on board with that. Like, if you want to make time, if you want to do the thing, do the thing. If you don't, do your thing. I'll make time. And anyone who had to stay behind to take care of something always found him the same when he returned. So he doesn't begrudge you if you don't ride. You got shit to do, you got shit to do. I'll catch you when I get back. Yeah, people did used to actually eat together and shit. Like, it, meals together and all of that used to be a big fucking deal. Back when people used to give a shit about each other because people needed each other. It's tough today because we're social creatures who still need each other, but we don't need each other nearly as directly as we once did, and that's a breaking of evolutionary norms. And this is something that I've commented on frequently. I do believe that a great part of what appears to be wrong with the current iteration of society is just that our technological evolution has far outpaced and exceeded our biological imperatives, like our actual lizard animals. And we have yet to like find a method for adapting, and it's breaking a lot of people's brains. Like, our society is definitely more reclusive than ever because direct dependence is not necessary. Like, I love this. This is the not cool mom vibe is awesome. The understanding of the import of family time. Like, the kids will say you're not cool now, and you know what? When they're actually old enough to understand anything, they'll appreciate you someday. Absolutely. Mims gets it. I mean, as somebody who had a situation where this was not often the case, like, it was rarely the case, like, I appreciate now way more, like, the family dinners, like, I look forward to that shit as an adult because didn't do as much of it as a kid, like, I appreciate it more now, but I wish I had that more growing up, like, that interaction. Yeah, it's definitely a good tradition to pass down. His searching questions at meetings, a kind of single-mindedness, almost never content with first impressions or breaking off the discussion prematurely. So, an inquisitive, curious fellow. I need Darth directly. He's got his Addy and computer password in his own head. I mean, I do. I have all of these things in my head. I don't know what you would need any of that for. Can't can't see a justification for any of that. But I like that he makes a note that this wonderful fella, his adopted father, I believe we're still on, yep, has a extremely inquisitive nature. That's me too. Like I'm always asking questions and I absolutely love when people ask a lot of questions. Bet you it's not. Bet you like that would be too obvious. You would never get the relevance of my computer password, sir. If I gave it to you, you would be like, you would just not even be able to fathom a guess of where that came from. Because I grew up as a kid of the internet era and people be trying to hack you. The first hacks were based on like what are obvious things. It's evolved since then, but I'm not gonna have anyone guess my password just because I'm sloppy and lazy. Not happening. His constancy to friends, never getting fed up with them or playing favorites. Oh, that's not me. I got my favorite friends. Everybody knows it. I've literally told people about my favorites. And my best friends and my beloveds. If you know, you know. Being more constant to my friends would probably be a better pursuit, but it'd be dishonest. There's some people that I just like more than others. Doesn't mean I don't still love you. I just love Squab more. There, the secret's out. Self reliance always, this comes back to independence and cheerfulness. Uh, and that comes back to optimism and all of that such thing. And his advanced planning well in advance and his discreet attention to even minor things. Yeah, I don't do this. I don't do the paying attention to minute details, and I don't plan shit ever. Fuck that. Nope. So don't ask me to explain like why this is valuable. It's not. Planning is stupid because when you plan things way in advance, you just set yourself up to either forget or double book shit. Like if you want to plan something with me, ask me like 2 days in advance or 2 or 3 days in advance, up to maybe a week tops. I'm not planning shit out further than a week unless it's something monumental. But to plan mundane things well in advance is it's a waste of time. His restrictions on acclamations and all attempts to flatter him. Huh. Impervious to flattery. People hate that when they try to flatter you and you can see exactly what they're doing, and then you tell them what they're doing, they hate it when you do that. Say, "Don't blow smoke up my ass then. It's not my fault that I can see what you're doing." His constant devotion to the Empire's needs, his stewardship of the treasury, his willingness to take responsibility and blame for both. That is the nature of responsibility, is to take the blame along with the credit. Someone should teach the current administration about responsibility. The willingness, you know? You gotta admit when you fuck up, even players fuck up. Repent. I'm not constant devoted to the Empire's needs, though, so maybe I'm the problem. His attitude to the gods, no superstitiousness, and his attitude to men, no demagoguery, no currying favor, no pandering, always sober, always steady, and never vulgar or a prey to fads. This seems like probably the most consistent person of the history of ever. This seems like a little bit of doing the over flattering that he is speaking about guarding against. Sup, Castro? Team Rumble Gang. Shout out to the 18 Team Rumble Gang members. You guys are cooler than me. We got 6 and 7 between Xbird and YouTube. That's that's a lot of people. Or it's maybe just one person with a lot of accounts. I like this bit here. No superstitiousness or doubt of the gods, and no demagoguery of men. The no currying favor, don't be an ass kisser. No pandering, don't be an ass kisser. Be consistent. Just be you. Pretty pretty simple. Not everyone is capable of not being an abundant ass kisser when the opportunity presents itself. Fuck that shit. The way he handled the material comforts that fortune had supplied him in such abundance, without arrogance and without apology. If they were there, he took advantage of them. If not, he didn't miss them. See, that's that's with all things, right? Like material comforts. Like it's a very wealthy man, so like yeah, you know, they say money can't buy happiness, but I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini than uh, be grinning on a bicycle. Just, just saying, or crying on a bicycle. Brick top, get your tongue out of my ass, Gary. You're not a dog, are you? I think I've seen that movie once. I don't think I've seen the whole thing. I think I might have came in while someone I knew was watching it, like significant portion of the way through, and I was probably fucking wasted. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to apologize for that which you have, which you earned, and you don't have to like bitch about it when it's not there. Just be content at being content. It's fine. Like, yeah, I can afford nice things. I have nice things. If I'm somewhere else and I don't have such nice things, It is what it is. No one ever called him glib or shameless or pedantic. They saw him for what he was, a man tested by life, accomplished, unswayed by flattery, qualified to govern both himself and them. Uh, yes, yes, I know. Proper Lamborghini safety. Uh, I'm not gonna put my eye out. I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever called me glib because that's not really a word people use these days. I may have been called shameless more than once. I think we may all have our shameless moments. Pedantic, that's a fun one. Uh, Tested by life, though, for sure, for sure. Accomplished, maybe not as much as we'd like. Unswayed by flattery, negative. Definitely not qualified. Definitely not qualified. His respect for people who practiced philosophy, at least those who were sincere about it, but without denigrating the others or listening to them. Aha. So that's what you do with people who are full of shit. You don't need to go ahead and troll them on the internet mercilessly, as one is wont to do when people are full of shit. But you can just ignore them completely because, well, there's no point in trolling the living shit out of them on the internet, except for it gives one self satisfaction, which is inherently quite useless in those regards. But it's still fun, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's still a great time. His ability to feel at ease with people and put them at their ease without being pushy. Like, this is a good people person. Someone who can go ahead and just be natural about people and have them just 100% relax around him without having to set them up to relax. It's like just, you know, someone legit. If you have a good energy, it's infectious. His willingness to take adequate care of himself. Not a hypochondriac or obsessed with his appearance, but not ignoring things either. With the result that he hardly ever needed medical attention or drugs or any sort of salve or ointment. So, if you do proper maintenance, you won't need a lot of repairs. Just take care of yourselves. This is a notable, valuable thing to do. This in particular, his willingness to yield the floor to experts in oratory, law, psychology, whatever, and to support them energetically so that each of them could fulfill his potential. I might have once upon a time been willing to yield the floor to experts, but nowadays, fuck these experts. Give me some good experts and then I'll yield the floor. That he respected tradition without needing to constantly congratulate himself for safeguarding our traditional values. Hmm, this sounds like some politicians I know from just recently. You can just do it. You don't gotta make a goddamn show about it. Except they do, because that's all politics is the theatrical circus designed to give you the illusion that you have any sort of choice in the nature of governance. Not prone to go off on tangents or pulled in all directions. Well, that counts me out. But sticking with the same old places and the same old things. However, we do keep it relatively consistent and try to bring all tangents back to a point of a philosophical nature, or at least an understanding nature. The way he could have one of his migraines and then go right back to what he was doing, fresh and at the top of his game. So he's got a good recovery time, like Wolverine. That he had so few secrets, only state secrets, in fact, and not all that many of those. Well, how would you know? How the fuck would you know? What is the nature of a secret, everybody? It's something that nobody else fucking knows. So people can appear to be as open book as you would like to perceive them, but if there's something that's a secret, you don't know. So that's a silly concept of thinking that people have few secrets. How the fuck could you ever know? It's ridiculous. The way he kept public actions within reasonable bounds. We should get back to that. Games, building projects, distributions of money, and so on, because he looked to what needed doing and not the credit to be gained from doing it. This is how public service should be enacted. However, that's not how we play the game today. Hello, Michelle. Greetings. Hey, welcome. Good to see you. Hope you enjoyed your nap. No bathing at strange hours. No self indulgent building projects. No concern for food or the cut and color of his clothes. Or having attractive slaves. The robe from his farm at Lorium, most of the things at Lanuvium, the way he accepted the customs agent's apology at Tusculum, etc. Not that I know any of the relevance of any of those events, so I can't tell you anything about it. He never exhibited rudeness. Check one against me. Lost control of himself. Check two against me. Or turned violent. Strike three. I'm out. No one ever saw him sweat. Uh, Everything was to be approached logically and with due consideration, in a calm and orderly fashion, but decisively and with no loose ends. Jesus, that's a complete and utter airball. Shit. Die. My bad about my wonderful enthusiasm. I haven't had my nap, and I have had a quite exhausting week of my own. I almost was lamenting not doing the show. You missed that portion of the beginning of the show. But Marcus Aurelius would have got up and done the show because don't be a bitch. So I did the show anyway, even though I can't lie to you, this is not my highest engagement in enthusiasm or even anything that's like a sustainable point of energy. Yes, skipping the show for reasons. That's what I would have done. I would have skipped the show for reasons 100%. But I did not. So, pardon me if I seem like I'm not all with it. I'm definitely not at 100%. But I'm still here and I'm still pushing through and I'm still trying to gather as much as I can from a very cryptic little book of notes here. He never. Okay, we just struck out completely. I mean, I did specifically about this. Like, literally, none of that is applicable. You could have said of him, as they say of Socrates, that he knew how to enjoy and abstain from things that most people find it hard to abstain from. See, I don't have this kind of discipline, and this is seeming like absolute maximum discipline. We don't have this anymore. And all too easy to enjoy. Strength, perseverance, self control in both areas. The mark of a soul in readiness, indomitable. See, that's like an insane type of discipline. And I just don't have it. I wish I did. I'm working on like being more disciplined and trying to deny myself the easy path. It ain't the easy path though. Staying on the path is requiring great focus and great persistence. Maximus's illness is down here in parentheses for some reason. I fell asleep at 7 a.m., so not really an app. Oh shit, that was. I just woke up from sleeping because I was up all night. I betcha I know why you were up all night, but I'm not saying anything. It's none of my business. At least I would hope that what my suspicions would be the truth and it not be something horrible like you were in too much pain to sleep. That'd be awful. Hope it's not that. 17. The gods. That I had good grandparents, a good mother and father, a good sister, good teachers, good servants, relatives, friends, almost without exception. And that I never lost control of myself with any of them, although I had it in me to do that, and I might have easily, but thanks to the gods, I was never put in that position and so escaped the test. I've been put in the position a lot. I failed a lot. I lack discipline, but I also lacked God for a long time. And just recently, him and I started talking again, and things are definitely looking up. Into that, for that I am grateful and humbled at the same time. Because I've failed this test a bunch. But I do have mostly great people in my life, almost without exception. Ugh. That I wasn't raised by my grandfather's girlfriend for longer than I was. That I didn't lose my virginity too early and didn't enter adulthood until it was time. Put it off even. Imagine that slow cook. Because some of us got thrown into adulthood. Some of us, like, are you talking about God? Yeah. I mean, we're free to be away and we're free to be right there with him. Like, he always gonna be there. The good father, right? But I love this. Raised by the grandfather's girlfriend for life. Grateful to the gods for that. Grateful that he didn't come into his manhood too early and that he put it off. That I had someone, as a ruler and as a father, who could keep me from being arrogant and make me realize that even at court you can live without a troop of bodyguards and gorgeous clothes, lamps, sculpture, the whole charade, that you can behave almost like an ordinary person without seeming slovenly or careless as a ruler or when carrying out official obligations. So you don't need to be pomp and circumstance to be a man of character and class. Noted. This performance theater of people in power is often to a level of ridiculousness. Not so much anymore. Now I almost feel that they are actually the stupidest among us. But yeah, you don't have to be a person like I mean look at somebody as influential as Elon Musk and his quirky little autism. Man's like one of the most followed voices in the world right now. And he's a weirdo. But he has a lot of influence. Whether you love him or hate him, people are constantly like almost hanging on every word. I know that when he went down to see our man Millet down in Argentina, I was like, man, we need more of this in the world. We could make a lot more progress as a species if we stopped trying to destroy each other like crabs in a bucket and started actually like trying to work on solving what is actually problems. Oh, Elon? Yeah. I mean, they're going after him hardcore just like everyone else who says things that they don't like. And when they're out of the way, we're all next. So keep that in mind. They won't stop. Like, there's no voice of dissent too quiet because any voice of dissent can be amplified. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a cooperation and cohesion instead of. I mean, competition is fine. Even in the realm of cooperation, competition is fine. Competition breeds innovation. Contempt is, in general, destructive. And to the extent that I support competition in the free market of ideas. Yes, this is not competition. This is anything but. This is curation, if you will. This is people with authority picking the winners and losers, and that's not competition. That's the opposite. That's like monopolistic control. Control. And when you have such things in the marketplace of ideas, what you have is doomed to fail, or at least doomed to destroy any type of freedom. This is I win when I. Okay, Sleepy, let me try to translate this. This is I win when I quiet and control everyone else, so only I am heard. Yeah, when you silence all voices of dissent, then you have the only narrative. That's why they're panicking and going full throttle because the narrative is spiraling out of control. That I had the kind of brother I did, one whose character challenged me to improve my own. See, this is competition. One whose love and affection enriched my life. We are not doing enough to promote, defend, not defund, true free market principles. I know, I'm aware. Like, we're, as a species, as a society, very, very apt to just give up responsibility for these things to someone else. Our vigilance, our discipline, broken beyond repair. The weakness is far apparent, but it's not sustainable. So it will eventually cycle on through again, as it does. The endless loop of time marches on. That my children weren't born stupid or physically deformed. True blessing from the gods indeed. Shout out to my mom. Her parents, her children were born stupid. The pendulum swings the other way eventually. Well, it's not a pendulum, it's a wheel. There's a constant rolling over of the wheel. And then there's that little arrow that points to where we are on that wheel. But it is, yeah, it's not as limited as the simple back and forth of a pendulum because there is, yeah, like a ratchet, but it's a constant circular motion, not a simple back and forth. And thanks to the gods that I wasn't more talented in rhetoric or poetry or other areas. If I'd felt that I was making better progress, I might never have given them up. Uh, I mean, it can only tighten towards totalitarianism so far before revolution becomes inevitable. This is why all the great empires rise and fall. And then when we throw off the change of oppressionistic totalitarianism, we get absolute chaos and we begin the cycle of restoring order again. And in the Wheel of Time, there's that dark cave thingy with those bat like evil things that are not squab. Yep, they are not squab, you are correct. Castro! Gotta run, peace out. Oh, that's hilarious. Uh, you keep running, Castro. She gonna catch you eventually. Take care, homie. Like if you as just as Shelly shows up. Totally coincidental, not planned at all. Not running from Shelly at all. Just saying. That I conferred on the people who brought me up the honors they seemed to want early on, instead of putting them off, with the hope that I'd do it later. Huh. Yeah, I know. I know. uh, cheers, y'all. Ah, my chat's the best chat, just in case anyone was wondering. If you ain't down with my chat, then book you. Yeah, I don't confer. I don't confer honors because I'm not like an emperor or anything, but I try to give credit to my homies who like my homies who brought me to the dance. Like I'm constantly referencing Divinity Expert and Cool Frog as people who got me started in the like streaming sphere. I did a lot to figure out like who I was and being able to just like talk by myself thanks to like being friends with T3 and people supporting me to just like go ahead and go do it myself, like a couple of different people, but I can't confer honors on people. I can tell people that I am grateful for all of their support. Cat Ninja, Small Mouse, Bijou, The Outsiders, Squad Gang, the Knitting Club, as we Squab for always being a homie, even though we vehemently disagree on a great many things. There's more that unites us than what separates us. And I feel like a lot of people really miss that. And especially right now, like people would much rather argue about the little minute details that divide us. In some cases, it's giant, fucking chasmistic, like reality view differences. But even with people who have a completely askewed worldview based on what I see as reality, there's still common ground to be found. And I feel like we don't spend enough time trying to do that. That I knew Apollonius, Rusticus, and Maximus. That I was shown clearly and often what it would be. Well, I think these are two separate thoughts, but he knew these guys, and he's thankful to the gods for they had a profound influence on him. That I was shown clearly and often what it would be like to live as nature requires. This is the third time now that this phrase has come up, to live as nature requires. The gods did all they could through their gifts, their help, their inspiration to ensure that I could live as nature demands. So God gives you everything you need to do what you need to do. And if I've failed, it's no one's fault but mine. Because I didn't pay attention to what they told me, to what they taught me, practically, step by step. Takes less energy to be a peaceful, polite human. Just mind your fucking business and don't be an asshole. Hence why I stay by myself now. See, that's something I'm learning in my own right. Like, because I've not always been the best at that, and it works out more beneficially to not be combative and to not be malicious and to not be hypocritical, to just be consistently living by your own damn values. Yeah. Mind your business is the toughest thing. Yep. I don't even do this. I've closed very, very few doors completely. I may close most of them, but in almost every scenario, there's a door or two still open, or at least a window cracked. If you're really not one that I fucks with. But yeah, if you want to go, go. Sometimes I might even tell you to get the fuck out. I don't think I've ever told anyone get the fuck out and don't come back. That's probably just as much a weakness as it is a strength in my repertoire of terrible interpersonal relationships is just being able to cut people off completely. Appreciate the good times, even in all the bad, it helps. I mean, that's a commentary that I made before you got here earlier regarding like this exact thing about cutting people off is I tend to try to let go of the like negative. I try to. I fail sometimes, but I try to remember like the good things, focus my mind on that, which is why I have a tendency to let the past go when I really should be learning from it. Like I tend to just forget about the negative until I'm reminded, and then it's like, oh yeah, you didn't learn the first time because you wanted to ignore the reality of it. I don't think that's forgiving. I think that's something else. That my body has held out, especially considering the life I've led. Well, amen to that. That I never laid a finger on Benedicta or Theodotus, and that even later, when I was overcome by passion, I recovered from it. So these are the temptress womans. Do not be led astray by the tempting of the womans. That even though I was often upset with Rusticus, I never did anything I would have regretted later. Can't say the same myself, like that even though she died young, at least my mother spent her last years with me. Aww. Family's important, y'all, and everybody do be dying, so cherish the time you have with the people that are important to you, family and friends. And don't give credence or time to people who aren't worth your cherishing because there's people that are going to want to get into your head that don't belong there, and you have to make sure that they stay out. That whenever I felt like helping someone who was short of money or otherwise in need, I never had to be told that I had no resources to do it with, and that I was never put in that position myself of having to take something from someone else. So he's very grateful that he's lived a life of wealth and privilege. We carry some feeling of invincibility until we're proven wrong. Life is short, unexpectedly short. I mean, and it goes by quick. Uh, Sometimes alarmingly quick. That I have the wife I do, obedient, loving, humble. Take notes from the philosopher king himself, ladies. Obedient, loving, humble. That's what great men require of their women. And if you don't have these things, you ain't gonna have the great man. He's not gonna do that. He'll know before he ever commits to you if you have this shit. That my children had competent teachers. I mean, that's a good thing. Remedies granted through dreams. When I was coughing blood, for instance, and having fits of dizziness, and the one at Cayeta. Well, I have no idea what this means. Like, I've never had no remedies in a dream before, but sounds fucking super cool. That when I became interested in philosophy, I didn't fall into the hands of charlatans like Sigmund Freud or Ayn Rand or Immanuel Kant, just to name a few. We will, at some point during this philosophical journey, discuss these heathenistic charlatans for the frauds that they are. I'm just kidding. Like, in general, Ayn Rand actually and Immanuel Kant actually do make some fair points, but just, yeah, no. Absolutely, absolutely ignore some required reality to come to some of the conclusions they do, and that's a problem for me. And didn't get bogged down in writing treatises or becoming absorbed by logic chopping or preoccupied with physics. Well, I mean, definitely will throw you off of your philosophy path to get lost in the minute. All things for which we need the help of fortune and the gods. So I think that's the end of the commentary on the gods, and thus the end of the first chapter of the meditations. There's a lot in there. There's a lot of reoccurrences in there. And this might be the most rewatchable stream I've done just because there's so much more to think about. I could probably go through, reread everything again and have more thoughts on most of it, except for the things that, like having remedies and dreams. I don't believe I've ever dreamed of a dark. See, like that remedies and dreams are not a thing. But that was a good little chunk. How far into this thing did we actually get? Huh. So it's got a ways to go still. Some of these chapters are much shorter than others, so there's a possibility that there may come a stream where we do multiples in a show, but I'm not going to spoil all that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. That was a fun little thinking experiment, considering I really wanted to go do a nap instead. I'm glad I actually stuck to my stoic and just went and did the thing. Because it is all too easy to make excuses for why we don't want to do shit. But if we sit around making excuses for why we don't want to do shit or why we can't do shit or why shit would be better done at some other procrastinated time, then we never get the shit done. And we could always do more. I feel like I could always do more. So I'm working on making less excuses and getting more shit done. Thank you all for coming. Shout out, we got a whole mess of viewership right now. 7 watching on Xbird, 18 on Rumble, 9 on YouTube. Gangs galore. Because that would be weird. We can nap simultaneously but apart. I am not napping together with you. You. In fact, I've already got obligations that I can't even nap right now. Like, even though I am exhausted, I have still more to do today. So, thank you all for coming. It's been a pleasure as always, thinking with you and sharing with you. I'll be back for book 2 on Monday. I'll be doing the exclusive Exploring Spirituality with Cool Frog and our merry band of Bible studiers. Squab, Digger, hopefully. Sunday at 8:30. I'll be back here Monday night at 8 p.m. for the next chapter in the meditations. Until then, have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Uh, just know you're all loved and appreciated. I will see you all next time. DarthHideous out.